Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, it's been quite a while since we have been live, and so it's a blessing to be live once again and to speak with you guys directly. There is a lot going on. A lot going on, guys. It feels like it's been building for a long time, and we had talked about this September as being a month to watch. Going back to March of 2018 for you guys that have been with me that long. And it's wonderful to see you guys and see some familiar names in there. And if you guys remember Asia, we had a show that we did back in March 2018 in which she was talking about September 2019 being a very, very big month. A very big month. And we could see that. And it's my pleasure, Enoch. He's saying thanks for the time to make it live. Honestly, it was really just a series of technical issues that were unable to be resolved. And I have moved around and been so mobile in the last year, but especially the last 6 months or so. It's been tough to get things organized, but now settling in and kind of have a home base going again. And we'll be doing a lot of roaming and venturing out and doing a lot of stuff on location in various areas as well. And so we're going to be doing things a little bit more consistently with the live, and hopefully there won't be any interference from the powers that be. Also, I had touched on it yesterday a little bit, but I'm going to start using other platforms as well, and going to be doing some Patreon-only stuff that should not be censored at all. So, we won't have to worry about the censorship issues as well. Been traveling all over the West and all over the South as well. Basically, I have a home base out in the Southwest right now, and it's perhaps a temporary, perhaps a permanent home base. That's still kind of up in the air as well, but it's a place to root from and start to, explore more. Because honestly, I haven't explored the West that much at all. I've explored every state east of the Mississippi and lived in like half of them. But basically it's time to explore the West and perhaps, venture south of the border some, and maybe north of the border as well. And it's so good to see everybody here. And as you guys know, the censorship thing has been a huge thing for so many channels like this. And there's so many channels that I follow on a regular basis. And some of them have become friends and all, and we all feel the pressure. So everybody's looking for other venues as well, so we could keep speaking what we feel and what we see, and letting people know what we see is going on and communicate. And Kathy says, pray for Florida. We do need to pray for Florida, most definitely. And you could feel it coming. And this one, as we will take a look at, let's jump over. This is changing so rapidly, and does it really surprise us that it goes from being probably a nothing much storm, may actually dissipate, not make it through the islands, to it's going to be a Category 4 at landfall? I mean, are we now, would anybody be surprised to hear that it's going to be a Category 5 at landfall? I don't think we'd be surprised at all, because this is the way things are going now. And so, this is looking very, very precarious. There's a couple interesting things happening right now. Obviously, Hurricane Dorian has our attention, and it could be a serious, major hurricane. And just think of the inundation that's already been there. Think of all the water that we've seen. It's been so saturated down there, as really the whole Southeast and so many areas have been so saturated, that if you have a system like this come through, it's going to have such an impact. And then this will have the high winds. And you remember Hurricane Michael, what it did. And that came through as a 4 initially, although they revised it to a 5. And you got to wonder, what's this going to look like when it gets there? So when we look at the spaghetti models, they're in pretty good agreement. Anywhere from Jacksonville to Miami has to be aware. And then we have this one that has it going up and hitting just a little bit off of Wilmington. This one has it coming out, cutting through, and circling back around. And that looks really ominous because that would be a double dip. And most definitely that would be an issue with the saturation that we have going on. So Hurricane Dorian, now it's forecast to reach Category 4 status. This is a serious storm. And we had talked about also the fact that this is going to be a backloaded year, just kind of like last year was. So now that things are getting going, just watch for kind of one after the other. And so there are those out there that believe in the power of positive intention, positive thoughts and prayer, and we need to do that. We need to basically focus our attention, and let's use our energy to visualize this thing just dissipating and going down and weakening, because we know there's powers out there that are probably trying to boost it. They're probably trying to intensify or even steer. And I don't think that that's something that a lot of you haven't thought about now, because we're awake. People in this family are wide awake. We understand, what's really going on. And the other main thing is the quake going on. And so we see over here, a 6.3 quake hits off of the southern Oregon coast, 170 miles off the coast, depth of about 7 miles according to this. No tsunami warning issued. And over here, we again see it. 6.4, 6.3, a couple of different numbers coming out there. So the quake hit at 8:08 local time, depth of about 3 miles according to this over here. The epicenter is about 183 miles east of Coos Bay, 197 miles east-northeast from Newport, 251 miles east-northeast from Salem. Shaking felt in Portland and Eugene, as far east as Bend. And a tsunami wasn't expected, but a big quake like that and a relatively shallow one, that's something that's definitely dangerous. And we've been talking about the fact that Cascadia, that's really the place to watch. And thousands of tremors hit the northwest, and as this says, but doesn't necessarily signal the big one. And so look at that. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has detected more than 4,500 tremors over the past 2 weeks deep beneath the Olympic Peninsula and the southern Vancouver Island, from another swarm stretching from Eugene to the Siskiyou Mountains. It's a phenomenon called episodic tremor and slip, or slow slip. And we've been talking about this. Dutch has been talking about this forever. Humans can't feel it, but seismologists have discovered this happens along Cascadia's tectonic plate boundary on a regular basis every 14 months or so, in the case of Puget Sound, and on a different cycle in Oregon and Northern California. So, is this something that's pointing to something much, much larger? It's a big possibility, and thanks to Dutch, we know the way the energy runs. And so when you see something like this, we're going to be watching downstream, so we're going to be watching down towards the San Andreas, down into California, and, China Lake, Ridgecrest area. As you can see, 218 quakes right here. And, this gray area, this is the Naval Air Warfare Center, China Lake. It's interesting. Now, today, there wasn't so many over here, and this is the Nevada security site, but there was a lot of them over here yesterday. And if we go 7 days all magnitudes, continue anyway, you see them all. But just like with China Lake, you gotta question, are they really quakes? Because if you look at a lot of these, Okay, this is at negative zero point 0.4. Yeah, I think a lot of these, they're just simply, they're military exercises. Maybe they're bombing runs. Maybe they're testing different weapons and stuff. You can see all these little dots. I don't think they're really quakes. And then, of course, we know that there's tremendously huge underground base in this area, or bases, really. This whole area is just full of underground bases. And all the way down from Nellis down here, Indian Springs area. I was just there earlier, about 4 or 5 days ago. And all the way up towards Tonopah. You know, this contains many famous areas. And so there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot going on here, but then we do also have the real quakes going on. And this is very large to see off the coast here. So we were also talking about California and precursor quakes. So you got to wonder, is this a precursor? Is there something else coming here? And thank you, Keith. Thank you for the super chat. It's truly appreciated with everything that's going on. It's most definitely tough. They're making it as tough as possible for channels to survive. And Brandy says Dutch is right on with his forecast, about 90% accuracy, I would say. Yeah, he's been extremely on. And I see Ray in the group. Good to see you as well, brother. It's very disconcerting when we see the censorship at a time when people need to be as aware as possible as to what's going on. And most of my time has been spent in the last 3 months between Arizona and Nevada, and spending a lot of time in these interesting areas, sacred areas in some cases. And one of the things I enjoy doing is playing pool. So I've been playing pool with a lot of guys that work out on these bases. And they'll joke with you about like the aliens and the things that go on there, and even about the human hybrid experiments and stuff. But I only feel they're half joking. I really do. And there are so many contractors that are working at these bases. There's tons of people coming through every day. Sometimes they come in and they go really quick, and other times they're staying there for a long period of time. But it is real. It is definitely real what's going on there, and we have no clue of the technology. The technology is probably so far ahead of what the public expects. I've seen some wild things out here at night, and it's become like a favorite pastime for me to go at sunset, and we head out into the desert and drive several miles off-road and get to a nice black spot and just see what we're going to see. And there's always stuff that just, thank you, Sharon, for the super chat. I appreciate your support. There's always things every night that blow your mind and you have no explanation for. It's really wild. So yeah, the Pale Horseman is riding with all these diseases, all these people getting sepsis, you name it, EEE, West Nile, dengue fever, God, you name it, all the new tick-borne diseases. There's so much stuff. It's interesting, Alicia is saying, I've heard that large holes will open up in Nevada. When you look at it, and you look at the Earth change maps, Nevada is mostly underwater, and a lot of them too, big sections. Thank you, GP, for the super chat. Prayers and positive vibes to you and our whole family as well. So, you would think, and I thought, that Nevada would not be a safe place, but then at the same time, if this is where they have all their bases, then, maybe, do you think that they're going to build these huge bases here and in an area where it's going to fall apart and be underwater. That's one of the things that I've come to wonder about, because they have so much money invested in these bases, and in Nevada, also of course in Dulce, New Mexico, and other areas. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for your support as well, Susan. The super chats are awesome, and they really do help us with everything that they've done with the channel, and because it's basically at the point where it brings in just a fraction of what it did. But, there's always the knowing that it'll be okay, because we'll just roll with the punches and we'll just keep getting out the good news, which is that on the flip side of all this, our consciousness is changing. We are changing. It's a fact. I don't know if you guys could feel it the way I could feel it. Doing my QiGong practices and my meditation, I feel the Kundalini just flying. The energy is so intense, and it just blows my mind to do a QiGong practice and feel the energy the way I feel it. We could definitely heal each other, and we could heal the world as well. Our powers are increasing. The powers for good are increasing at the same time that the dark side is trying to basically keep it under control and trying to put us down. And so, we are increasing in our ability to basically affect positive change out here. And we've seen at times crazy readings out of the Schumann resonance. And if we look at it for today, you can see it's relatively calm today. Not too active yesterday, but 2 days ago we had an intense spike. That was really huge. And many believe this is the consciousness of the planet, and I'm in agreement with that. That's kind of how I view it. It's the collective consciousness of the planet, and the energies that are coming in are changing everything. And so I think a lot of these changes are really positive. I think that's the biggest thing, is we're seeing the other stuff. We're seeing the hurricanes, we're seeing the storms, the flooding, the earthquakes, the volcanoes. And then I think there's a lot of stuff going on that is, for lack of a better word, being manufactured, created. And I think a lot of that is to create fear, whereas what's happening is actually a good thing consciousness-wise. And we're growing in our strength and our unity in so many ways. There are, of course, people that will, not shed the things they need to shed in order to move forward and then to move into more of like a unity consciousness, where we could get past all of our differences and just agree to love and agree to move forward. Thank you, Sylvain. And, I'm thankful for all you guys out there. It's a beautiful thing. And thank you guys for sending the prayers and the positive wishes out there for everybody that has needed that. And of course, there's so many that need our prayers and good wishes and positive energies, because we could definitely manifest change so much faster now than we have been able to in the past. So we are growing in strength. We are growing in power and positivity. And meanwhile, the other side is just they're trying to do as much as they can to just basically build the fear. And we see that. And we question a lot of things now. And I think more and more people are questioning and not accepting. So many people just years back woke up to the fact that the mainstream media is not telling us the truth. They're not giving us the whole story. And now people are waking up to the fact that it's much, much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. And so as we keep pushing the message and keep waking up more and more people, and I love to see that, and some of the videos I've done are very, very controversial because they can shake a reality that has been the reality that you have been in, a person has been in their entire life. But in these times, we have to be ready to move forward, and we have to have basically an open mind. Because as the data comes in, as we change, as we realize that the construct that we're living in is just that. It's a construct. And so it's been given to us, for the most part, by these powers that be, these authorities that have an agenda. And the agenda really is to keep us in the dark for the most part. But the means they use to control us in so many ways is also helping us to shed our ignorance by sharing with each other and learning from each other and growing. And when we start putting things together from different cultures around the world, and we start seeing common truths, then we could see through the minutia, and then hopefully we'll also see through and band together and just shed all those things that have kept us separated. If you believe it, going back to the Tower of Babel incident, which in some way, shape, or form is probably referring to something that actually really did happen. There's just too many of these legends to just throw it out the window. And as Susan says, there is a lot going on here. And we have to absolutely help humanity ascend. And it's most definitely a case of purging and cleansing, detoxing ourselves from the negative emotions, the negative energies that we've been so enveloped in. When we see them trying to get us stirred up, because they will always try to give us another quote-unquote enemy, somebody else to fear, somebody else to be angry at, whether it's, Democrat versus Republican, whether it's, the migrants coming in, whatever it is, ISIS, Islamic State, there's always going to be some other boogeyman that will be built up in order to keep us separate and keep us in this constant duality and this constant fight against each other. And, so many are now waking up to that fact, and we're refusing to stay in that worldview. Diversity is beautiful, and this is somebody that loves exploring different cultures and different foods and different ways of life. I love going into a new area and just mingling with the locals and getting a feel for what their lives are like. And I think that's beautiful because, each one of us is our own unique expression of divinity. And it wouldn't be that way if that wasn't part of the bigger plan. Diversity, we could find unity in diversity, and we could agree to disagree. And we could agree, hopefully, to do it in a way that's constructive, where we're not creating this destructive environment in this community. Yes, love is an action word. Very true, Heather. Very, very true. Yes, and Keith is saying, I have been feeling very, very negative lately. If anybody wants to send positivity my way, I would appreciate it. You know what it is we're working through stuff. Part of it's we're working through stuff. We are. We, in Chinese medicine, there's what's called Lao channels that develop, and these are actual channels of energy. These are actual points off of the main meridians. And the main meridians are the energetic channels. You could think of it as a vascular network for the energy body. And these other points develop when we can't process certain emotions or traumatic events. And so what we're doing now is we're clearing away those negative energies. We're letting them go. We're getting rid of them. And you have to kind of relive it at times. And so as these energies get pushed away, certain emotions will come up. And, that's kind of natural. The other thing that's going on is not so natural. And the other thing that's going on is all the frequencies and energies that have been put around us on purpose, because they want to basically interfere with the ascension process. They want to interfere with us purging and getting rid of our negativity, and also interfere with the raising of the consciousness on the planet. And that is most definitely real. And you notice it when you get away from the bigger cities. And for everyone that's in a bigger city now, that's a greater challenge. That's a big, big challenge. I know quite a few of you that I've been talking to that are looking to get out of certain areas because you just can't stand the energy there anymore. As we get more sensitive to the frequencies, as our own energetic abilities, our intuition, our psychic abilities are all increasing, your sensitivity is increasing. And we're all basically becoming more empathetic. And so what's happening is certain things are just not going to be tolerable anymore. You're not going to be able to tolerate it. And just like with certain foods, like, Susan talking about becoming a vegan. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to do that. And among other things, there's going to be certain things you are not going to be able to tolerate because you just can't take those energetic frequencies anymore. And that's part of what we're going through here. That's really what we're going through. So, of course, we have the, 5, give it a space, G. It's just because the way the AI system works, going on that is most definitely affecting people. And, make no doubt about it, there's a bigger purpose with that. Most definitely a bigger purpose with that. And that's just one of them. There are smart, I'll give this a space too, meters on so many people's houses. And those are affecting us well, most definitely. There's so much all around us all the time that's bombarding our consciousness. And that's what a lot of people are feeling, as well as working through their own energetic blockages and letting things go. And Reese says, listen to your intuition regarding all things. Let go of what does not serve you. Food, people, places. That's real wisdom right there. Real wisdom, especially in these times. And it's sad to say, but it's true. Not everybody is going to want to change. Not everybody is going to want to make peace instead of making conflict. And that's just the way it is. And there's going to be relationships that you're going to probably have to let go of. And perhaps that's why now in these times we see so many people getting married and divorced, or, one relationship to another, or even just packing up and leaving. And I'm a perfect example of all that. All the above, because I've had so much change in my life on a regular basis, but at the same time, I know it's a blessing because it has enabled me to grow. It's enabled me to shed. And in 2007, I was in a house for 17 years at that point, and we sold it and got rid of 2 dumpsters worth of things. And, now I'm down to basically the possessions I have, you could fit in the back of my pickup truck. And that's freeing. That is very freeing. So there's kind of a peace in letting go of things. There's a peace in letting yourself be carried. And when we were talking about the Tao, for those of you that saw the video on the Tao Te Ching, that's what the essence is. And when we're in flow with the Tao, with the way things really are, then we'll allow ourselves to be carried by the synchronicities. And the synchronicities will carry us to the next place we're supposed to be, wherever that is. And it's about being in the flow. And it is easier now to get into the flow. We just have to let things go. That is so true. There's so much wisdom in that. It's all about letting go right now. Letting go of that which does not serve us. In so many ways, that could be an ideology. That could be many different things. It really could be being a slave to a certain type of job that you don't like, and it doesn't make you feel good inside. And so, not getting into deep debt where we have to be in this huge burden of just basically struggling to pay off that debt. This society has been created in such a way to keep a perpetual slavery going on. And that's exactly the bigger, picture here. And it keeps us locked in. And of course, They want to keep us in that matrix, but more and more people are escaping the matrix. That's why you see more and more people going to tiny houses, more and more people, even living out of either RVs or living out of their campers, their vans, even their cars. I've had so many people that have, so many friends that have just, gotten so fed up with it, they actually, were living out of their cars, and until they found the right situation for them where they could, start afresh in a certain way. It's all about getting out of this matrix, because, we're not here really to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We're here to grow. We're here to love. We're here to share. We're here to experience a 3D life that is truly our own and our perfect expression of what we want it to be, not what we've been sold, not what's been thrown on us, and not what's been controlling us. There's a big difference in that. There most definitely is peace in decluttering, most definitely. And decluttering the mind and decluttering the heart as well as the house. Most definitely. It feels good when we just sweep away things we don't need anymore. As Ray Ray says, it's all about working on ourselves right now, and that's not being selfish. That is not being selfish, because you're here for a purpose, and that purpose is basically your own personal evolution of thought, consciousness, and being. You're here to discover who you are. Each one is a totally unique individual, completely unique, and that uniqueness should be embraced, and it should be cultivated, and it should be put up on a pedestal. Be proud of your uniqueness. Everyone is different. Yes, we did come here to basically be love and to share love. And that's part of going into that next step as we move up the ladder of consciousness. So, like covering the earth changes and everything that's happening, I feel like it's absolutely necessary, because there's people that are right in harm's way. Like right now, if you're in Florida and you're just not checking out what's happening, if you're just wrapped up in your own little world, and you have now they're saying a category 4 heading your way, and it could be a category 5 even by the time it gets there, the way things are now. It's like having your head in the sand. You have to know. You got to know when something's coming. And when things are coming, you got to prepare. So that's not really fear-mongering. And so, I always cover the earth changes, although at the same time, it's like it's something that you don't want to accentuate the fear, but at the same time, you want people to be able to save their lives if they could save their lives, or be in a better position when the power goes out. Because you've heard people say, like channels like this and so many others say, time to prepare. And so good to see all these names out there. Hello, my friends and family. It's beautiful to see you guys. And Todd says he's struggling to break free of the matrix. Yeah. So I need money to set yourself up. That's part of the double-edged sword, but it also depends on how far you're willing to go. There was a time when I had a house, and I had a hot tub, and I had a little canoe that I used to love to go out in the lake, and I had a motorcycle. And I left it all, sold my share of the house for $1 just to get rid of it all, because I knew my soul had to be free. And so I just took what I could fit in my tiny little Toyota at the time and started over with that, and was $30,000 in debt and credit card debt, and left everything just because I knew I wasn't on the right path and my soul was dying, and I needed to change something. So sometimes we have to take a serious chance, and I'm not saying that's for everybody, because it's really put me on the path where I'm not the same person, and I feel much happier with who I am now than who I was then. because I'm being true to my soul and I'm being true to my purpose, and that changes everything. It really does change everything. So if there's no, money in the bank, there's no guaranteed job, guaranteed income, that was a place there's no way the old me could have been comfortable and happy with it. But the new me has trust and faith and believes, in spirit, and that if I'm following my right path, everything will be taken care of. Things will happen. And that's a scary thing to go and do. But at the same time, if you truly believe, and, as Christ said in the Bible too, if you truly have faith, why do you fret when the birds don't worry about, where their next meal is? It's the same thing. It's just having that trust in spirit. And again, it's one of those things we have to agree to disagree on. Whatever labels we want to put on spirit, source, God, it's all human labels. We just need to basically allow ourselves the space, because, a label that you might use today may not be the same one you used 10 years ago, and it might not be the one you use in 5 more years. You might change your opinion again. And it's most definitely time to move forward, as Strange Days says. And these are strange days. And they keep us engaged in the left brain, where we can't go to the right side and go deep and connect to spirit. And now is the time to connect to spirit, because we're going to need that intuition that's going to come from above with everything that we see happening, with the earthquakes, with the storms, the floods, with, the diseases that are out there right now, which so many of us are extremely suspicious about, the timing of all these things. We have so many diseases that were eradicated, and they're all popping up all over the globe. And the key really for us in that case is building ourselves, building our immune system. And in QiGong, we would say building your Wei Qi field. And you could think of your Wei Qi field as a force field made out of life force, which is all around us. And we could draw the life force into our body and create more vibrancy just with our conscious thought and our breath. That's all it takes. Nothing else more. And it's not hard these days to do it. It really isn't. It was much harder teaching people to sense and feel the life force just 3-4 years ago than it is now, because most people out there can sense the life force in just moments if they actually give it a try, and it wasn't the case before. That's because of the cosmic rays coming in. That's because of all the energetic changes, and I think our DNA is changing. It's mutating, and some believe that it's basically coming back to where it was. And so Trolling for the Truth says, we left everything to come live off-grid. Van broke down right away as we were ready to leave. Left big house, big money, just bought 6 acres, loaded up RV, walked away. And believe in yourself. You can do it. Just listen to the voice within. And Estrella says, hello from New York City. Love and prayers to everyone. As Ray Ray says, most definitely detox, meditation. We need to go within. And when we have our left side of our brain constantly rolling with things, constantly thinking, constantly worrying, it doesn't allow you to receive your messages, your intuition from God, higher self, source, the angelic realm, however you want to view it. Lori says, watch the videos, never caught alive. Yeah, we'll be going live more and on YouTube, as long as they don't interfere with it, and other places as well, as we'll look for backup venues and in the process. And it's great to be live, great to talk to you guys, because we could just talk completely, as we go on whatever topics you want to talk about. And Reese says, ascension is paramount, and it is. That's the biggest thing, because we're going from that dark age into an age that's going to be a totally different place, and it's beautiful where we're heading. And yes, Stephanie says, yay, more lives. And you didn't feel the earthquake up there, did you, Stephanie? Because I know that's up in your neck of the woods. Hopefully not. And, well, Weed Me, you have a good day too. I would definitely be very aware on the West Coast now as far as the quakes and everything going on. And let's just check and see if anything else is happening. So as we see that 6.3 there. This is an interesting one up here too. 3.3. And as we know, this is a spot that will get some quakes going right up through here. And of course, we know all the swarming and stuff that's going on in these areas. Of course, USGS is not really showing much. And just to cover again what we started talking about, we have a 6.3 that struck off the Oregon coast on Thursday. It was about 8:08 local time, so that would have been 11:08 EST. And we're going to definitely watch that because, there was thousands. They were saying 4,500 tremors over the past 2 weeks deep beneath the Olympic Peninsula and southern Vancouver Island. So, that's a lot going on there. And then the other thing, too, is the Hurricane Dorian, which was just a weak little tropical storm. Now it's forecast to be a Category 4 when it hits somewhere between Miami and, all the way on up the coast, all the way up towards Jacksonville. Could be anywhere in there. There was one, let's see, we go over to my Fox. Yeah, there's just one little ensemble here that was showing it heading up to North Carolina. And, it's kind of like I just thought, we saw that massive Category 5 Michael hit. And then I thought, this year will be the year we'll have one of those probably hit a major city. And let's hope not. And again, if we can use our common prayers, positive energy, let's just envision wind shear coming in and just tearing this apart and shredding it so it becomes a non-event, because we do have power, especially when we're working together. And I wanted to thank everybody that did do the super chats as well, because that definitely helps keep the channel going and all. Yeah. So Heather Dawn says USBS is hiding what they are destroying. USBS. It's very accurate, most definitely. Chris is feeling all sorts of pressure differentials on Vancouver Island. And I am really looking forward to getting up into the Pacific Northwest. I want to do a trip out that way. I'd love to do it before the winter comes. It would be wonderful. I'd never have seen the Northwest, so that's something I always wanted to do. Stephanie says she did energy movement to keep Dorian off of Vieques in Puerto Rico. And one of our family members, Ruby, he's, I don't think, in the chat right now, but he is actually working to build a community down there in Puerto Rico. And that's his vision, and his dream is to go down there and help the people there. Yeah, I'll definitely stop by if when we do get in the area, Stephanie. I definitely will stop by. And Joni is talking about eating Brazil nuts for selenium. Selenium is something we need to take on a daily basis. Make sure we have enough. Rebecca says Dutch hasn't come out yet. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to catching his broadcast, what he thinks about this. Todd says this may be the foreshadowing of the Cascadia subduction zone collapse. Could be. As I shared with you guys before, there's been a lot of feeling of this September 2019 being something big, like a major sort of event. And, it feels like some major events could be coming. And as Quartz says, FEMA may get involved after the hurricane in Florida. That's without a doubt. That will most definitely be happening, and we'll have to watch it, and I would expect that there's going to be more storms going on. As far as the hurricanes, I think we're just kind of getting started right now, getting rolling, and I would expect it to be pretty active. And the water is actually very, very warm right now and conductive for that. So as I was telling you guys before too, we're going to be doing some videos that will be on Patreon only, because there's quite a few topics that get automatically, they get demonetized right away on YouTube. And it's not only that, it just seems like when you bring up a certain subject, then the videos that follow it show up with half the views that you expect them to get. So there's going to be a lot that we're going to go into, speaking plainly, over on the Patreon venue, because of no fear of censorship and no fear of repercussions. So the videos that I know will be very controversial for the YouTube platform, we will throw up on Patreon. And I do want to thank the Patreons that have supported the channel as well. So it'll allow us to talk a little bit more freer. Yeah, September is always a ritual month, most definitely. And that's been the month I've been looking at in case of, actually seeing some sort of conflict come out with everything that's been going on, from obviously everything. We have Venezuela, we have Syria, we have Iran. You still have Afghanistan and things happening all throughout the Middle East. Chris thinks it'll be October. Yeah, I felt September would always be a key month. Stromboli is tasty if you like Italian food. But doing the keto thing, it wouldn't be on my diet right now. So yeah, the market, it's also a key time for like the market as well. And yeah, Stromboli is also a volcano. But I haven't had breakfast, so I guess I'm thinking in lines of food. And Maya brings up a good point. She says, I would ask Mother Gaia before working on depleting storms. It's the cleansing times. Earth must be purified for a golden age. Yeah, I do understand that. And I think that brings up a good point too, is, how much is that reaction from Mother Gaia? Because as we've talked about, if you act like a parasite, if you act like a virus, then of course the body responds and the body attacks the virus. So how much of it is that and just cleansing, and then how much of it is manufactured? If you guys watched BP Earthwatch's video back with Harvey, and you clearly see what looks like something being shot from the Mexican desert and exploding in the air, and all of a sudden Harvey turns and gets strong and then did what it did. It makes you really, really wonder. So how much is one and how much is the other? Hurricane Michael strengthened so fast. It was just completely unpredictable. Who could have predicted that? It was something we hadn't seen before. And then we had, Florence too. I mean, when did you see a hurricane travel at 1 and 2 miles per hour? When did we see that before? We didn't, and it just stayed there. So it's kind of like you gotta be suspicious. Yeah, there's changes going on, but I think more and more people are really questioning exactly what is natural, so to speak, and what is not natural. And as Heather Dawn says, the Creator gave us free will, and we're all unique expressions of that. So that's part of the beauty of the situation. Andrew says this one will do 2 landfalls. I saw that one model too, and that really, if it does that, is it going to convince more people as well? Okay, and this is a great topic. Swiftbird says, I think with all the things seen in the sky lately, there may be a larger, so forces interested in our earthly affairs. Yeah, that's part of it too. As we know that there's these negative energies, there's also positive ones out there. And I think we've been purposefully made afraid to reach out to the positive. And there are positive energies out there that are waiting to help. But if you think about it this way, if we are supposed to have free will, the ones that are good and benevolent, they're not going to interfere unless you ask them. Not until you say, hey neighbor, I need some help here. Because they're not going to interfere. And whereas the ones that are disrespectful of free will, they'll just interfere and manipulate because they're disrespectful of free will. So that kind of, I think, is the situation we have going on now. We have beings right now that are interfering with the affairs of the earth that don't respect free will, look at it as a resource, look at humans as a resource, and are just basically doing what they will, whatever suits them. Many experiments on humans and things along those lines. And then you have the benevolent ones that are sitting on the sidelines, cheering us on, but they won't get involved unless they're asked. And some will ask them on a personal level. And of course, we've been made to fear so many things through our movies, through our religions, and as well. And I think we've been made to fear that which could help us, and made to revere that which is already putting us down in so many ways. But we have the power to take the reins back. We just have to realize it, and we have to grab the reins and unify and get together and pull each other up and lift each other up and bring about the conditions so more people will go ahead and lend a hand to their fellow man and stop the judging, stop being manipulated by the news, by all these different things that are constantly trying to pit us one against the other, make us fearful of each other, always create that next boogeyman. So we must be aware of all those manipulations going on as well, and not allow ourselves to be pulled into it. And as Reese says, we do have our collective consciousness. And so collectively, if enough of us could get together and pull this reality into a better reality, then we'll just speed up that process in which we're heading towards that golden age. So, as we were talked about 2012 being the end of the age, it wasn't the end of the world, but it was just simply that we were transiting through one level of consciousness to another. Hey, Barbara, good to see you out there. And again, I want to thank everybody that's been sending the prayers and their love and the positive energy to everybody that's needed the healing, because so many people are going through really, really tough times right now. Super tough times right now. And if you guys caught the video I did sending out energy to Anna, Anna really needs our prayer and energy. She's still going through a very tough time. She was through 12 and a half hours of surgery, and they had to stop because of her immune system not being able to handle it. And so she's still in a ton of pain and trauma and trying to pull through. So if we could still send some prayers out to Anna, that would be awesome. And as well as many others, you know who you are, that have been going through a lot. There's quite a few people I know right now that are going through Morgullons. And I think this is becoming more prevalent as well. And it's part of everything that's going on. It's part of the whole, do we want to call it an assault? on humanity. It's part of the bigger picture and trying to pull us down. And so we will not allow it, and we will pull together and move forward together. And thank you, Reese. And I try to cover as much as possible because I'm interested in so much. There's so much that's fascinating to me. And I'm one of those jack of all trades where I've studied so much of so many different things, and want to pass on, of course, whatever I've learned, but also, just maybe plant seeds so people can go ahead and do their own research and, go from there. There's so much we could do to help ourselves, without a doubt, and help each other. Can you imagine, if we got together in mass groups in your local community, say if there were groups of, 20, 30, 40 people coming together and literally doing nothing but just spending an hour or two healing the sick together. Can you imagine the kind of change we can do? Hi, Natasha. Zeke is snoring. I'm not sure if you could hear him, but he's in bed snoring as we're doing this. So we need to come together. We can do that. Court says he'd like to see cities powered by crystals within his lifetime. That would be wonderful. Yeah, and crystals. Wow, I have a large geode and a huge piece of selenite that I use. And back in the day, if you go 10 years ago, I might have felt a little bit of a vibe from them. Now it's intense. It's absolutely intense. What I feel off of them, and they are conscious beings. This is, I had 2 other videos lined up, and I kind of pulled them down to do this live because I've been wanting to go live, and I finally got all the equipment running right. And one of them was on elemental beings, talking about the elements itself and elemental beings and Hermeticism. And we'll go into a lot of other traditions because there's so much that I have not even touched on that I've spent years studying and want to get into with you guys more, because I know a lot of people want to move forward more with that. And I want to do a lot more in-depth videos on QiGong and healing. And, there's so much that we need to share with each other so we could start healing each other faster and heal the planet. Yeah, I hope everybody finds them exciting, Sheila. But I'll be doing this on a regular basis as well. Todd says 2 asteroids passing close to Earth in September. Many media reports, yeah. There's been a ton and some really close calls. One of the more recent ones was only 1/10 of the distance to the moon. And, one of the other things that's really been so impactful being out here in the desert has been seeing all these different formations of rock and seeing things that, using my intuition, I don't think that they're what we are told they are. I really fully believe that there's been some seriously advanced civilizations. I think especially out here in the Southwest in the desert, I think there have been some really advanced civilizations that have been probably completely obliterated and kind of bulldozed over so we wouldn't know about them. And I think it's also not coincidental that this is where you have the largest amount of land under the Bureau of Land Management. Like I said, 86% of Nevada is owned by the government. 86%. Why? And when you look at the size of Nellis and all that, the military bases there, it's huge. It must be like 120 miles long. It's incredible how big it is. And there's a reason, because I think there's a lot of stuff here that will show that our history is not what we've been told at all. And Stephanie's talking about the giants. I've seen so many rock formations that look like they could be giants, like mud fossil might be right. there's definitely stuff that just, and it feels weird. You come into these different zones out there. Hi, Alejandra. You come into these different zones, and the energy can change so quickly. I was in one area, and I could feel coming through the crown chakra energies, and then when I was meditating into it, focusing into it, I was seeing scenes of peaceful Native Americans, just nice scenes of nothing but just families and love and everything. And then like a mile down the road from there was a real dark energy that made me feel like more like the red-haired giants or something along those lines. It's Reese is in the desert as well. Yes. Yeah, we might be neighbors out here. Yeah, I was by Mercury just a few days ago and been by there several times as well. Definitely going to head over to China Lake. Just been watching it. And I want to do some videos over there closer to where they said they discovered the underground city over there in Death Valley. And that's one of the things that hit me too. Just going over there to the mouth of Death Valley, I could feel such interesting energy. Most definitely the feeling of being watched. Most definitely the feeling of some sort of ancient type of energy. I've felt it in different places before, such as the Everglades, for instance. When you go through the Everglades, there's such an ancient feeling down there as well. Heather Dawn felt it driving through Mercury and Indian Springs as well. Yeah, most definitely. So Stephanie says some of the darker ones were installed by the NAV elders for protection. So you mean, the native elders? Perhaps. John, basically right over the California-Nevada border, just basically getting into it. Haven't really documented, so to speak, Barbara, yet. We should. I mean, I have videos, and there's videos I haven't put up either because I wasn't sure if I wanted to throw them up public or not yet, but we'll be doing a lot more. 70-mile dragon on satellite. Was that over in Africa, Cowgirl? I think I saw something like that. That's a good point too, Swiftbird. There's definitely viruses and old life forms that are being released by the permafrost and the glaciers melting. Yeah, and the Paiute legend's very interesting, and the Shoshone as well, and the Cherokee was too. I've shared with you a friend over on the Cherokee reservation sharing with me stories that they don't tell just anybody. They don't typically tell, but they know all about the reptilians, and they believe the moon was brought here by them and put here by them, and it is a base. It's not really real. Preliminal says the moon face changed a lot and it's always tilted. And, I was always up in the air until about 5 or 6 months ago, standing out there staring at the moon with another person, and it was a full moon, just about full. And the whole face of the moon went blank. I mean, we were looking at first at the craters and the face and all that, and then it went totally blank. And I looked at her, she looked at me, and so we both saw it. And then it, went back to having the craters and everything. So, yeah, is the moon really a spaceship? And this is just some sort of cloaking on it. Perhaps it's a big mothership. Reese says she's Cherokee and Viking, and the stories are true. Yeah, and I think that's part of why the indigenous people were so persecuted and attacked, because they still had it in their traditions. The complete history. And so these beings, they've been here, they're still here. But perhaps the good ones are actually coming, and perhaps they're actually going to help. Like if we've talked about before, Mother Shipton. At the end of her prophecy, she talks about these beings coming from the stars and help to teach us and bring us back to a golden age. It's pretty interesting when you look at it, and that's the same that so many other legends have, that they're going to come back, and they're going to help bring in a golden age. So you think about it, of course, the Christians are waiting for Christ, and then, the Muslims are waiting for the Imam Mahdi, and then the Buddhists, are waiting for the Maitreya, and the Hindus are waiting for the Kalki avatar. So, perhaps all these beings are basically on the same page, and they're actually benevolent, but we're made to fear each of them because we are being kept separate. And Heather Dawn says Pleiadians, yes. And then there's the whole Pleiadian thing as well. And some of the most accurate prophecies, I guess you could call them prophecies, I have seen have been channeled messages from the Pleiadians. They've been dead on. And so accurate with so much more detail than we get from so many others. And yes, ultimately we are light beings. We're having so many weird events going on here. Weird events. Crazy events. I've had things like jumping off of walls. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but, the dimensions are changing and our consciousness is changing. And I do think that there are beings that have been just slightly out of our range of perception. They're becoming, it's becoming so we could actually see them and interact with them a lot easier. Yeah, and Todd says, don't forget about Deagle in 2025. Most definitely. Yeah, it's part of the agenda. Big changes. Antarctica is thawing, that is for sure. Lots of energetic changes going on. So it seems like a lot of people have Native American blood in them too that are members of the channel. Yes, so Reese sees fractals and shifting dimensions, and that's one of the things that I've always seen too. Well, going back to when I was about 20, I think 2021 is when I first started to see it, and took me to the eye doctor because I thought I was going blind. But I've had my eyes checked many times since, and you just see it. It's kind of like life force, just these individual particles of consciousness, swimming in all different directions, shooting about. And then of course we have all the orbs and stuff. They're just consciousness too. Alejandro's bringing up about the community. Like my situation has changed such so that everything like community wise has had to be pushed back. Part of it's just everything going on with the channel, the monetary situation, and part of it's like personal things going on with family as well. So it's still a thought for the future, just not able to do anything at the moment. And gonna trust that spirit will guide when the time is right. So guys, we're going to wrap this one up right now, but we're going to do this on a regular basis. And if there's issues with YouTube, then we'll do it off of Vimeo, and I'll keep you guys alerted to that. As I said, we are basically going to start doing some videos on the more touchy subjects that will be being put up on Patreon. For those that are Patreons, and of course I would invite anybody to come and join us and be part of the Patreon family as well. And we'll be doing this a lot more often, and it's so good to see you guys. So many names and faces that I have missed seeing interaction with. So I want to leave you guys with positive prayers, love, and light. May you guys always be blessed and keep safe in these times. So my friends, thank you so much. God bless and namaste.